with some static, but it worked. I think if we get it up over the tree line and we get it enough power, I think we could get a signal out.
You went.
All I got was some static, but it worked. I think if
Okay, something happened with the thing. So sorry everybody. Normally we start off with the previously, and there's something going on with it. So we're just gonna
Well,
start now.
I'll recap for everybody where we are. Boyd and Sarah are on an epic quest in the middle of the forest looking for an elusive boat horn sound. They have been attacked somehow by something in the forest. Sarah says that there's something much bigger than what they've experienced so far. In town, they are building the big tower on the top of Colony House, and everyone has been judiciously and prudently trying to find all of the resources and materials. Some people have more hope than others. Some people are taking this seriously. Some people are not taking it so seriously. A couple of things about what we're going to do when we leave this town, which sounds like some hope breaking through. Interesting dialogue coming from Ethan and his idea of what's happening. In the basement, there is still some digging going on, and people are generally trying to figure out what the heck to do. How's that?
That is excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent.
I realized that was kind of tongue in cheek, but there you go.
Uh,
Okay, so and we still don't know where Victor is. There's another one.
all right. Good old
All right,
friend Victor.
yeah. And where is that boy in white? What's going on? Okay, so welcome to the finale episode of From on Epics. Let's talk a little bit about where we left off with episode 9, and get a feel for what we thought in this episode. I'm going to open up the floor to you and tell me, what did you think about this episode overall?
It was disappointing.
Hmm.
It was. I mean, like it's not terrible. It just wasn't what I had hoped. Like I wanted more from the episode, and it just didn't live up to what I had hoped that we would have gotten in this. In it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, episode 9 was disappointing, but I still had hope that it was going to work out and be pretty good, but it just didn't live up to it as far as I was concerned. So I don't know. What,
I
what about you?
Well, I kind of think that by episode 9, I realized that the world was not going to come together the way that I thought it was going to come together for the finale. And that basically we would leave on a giant cliffhanger. Um, as it so happens, I don't necessarily think that this was a giant cliffhanger. I feel like we are on a cliff.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily know if it was as, like, I feel like if they do a season 2, I'll be happy to watch it.
right. Me too.
But if they don't do a season 2, I won't be disappointed.
Right.
And that's sad. I don't like feeling that way because I had really high hopes for this show at the outset. Um, was there anything, before we start talking about just actual events, is there anything in this episode that stood out to you as being really good?
Um. Okay. The tower part of it to me was more entertaining, right? The
Hmm.
whole like what was going on with the tower, but then it just kind of I mean, I did like that somebody you got somebody and they're like hey, your wife needs to stop digging, right? And it didn't
Mm.
sound like some kind of creature or anything. It just sounded like a regular dude. So it was like, oh man, what is that? It was like that made it like really interesting. Like, oh wait, is this maybe this isn't something uh like a creature, or you know what I'm saying, or just totally supernatural. It kind of gave a feeling like maybe this is something a little more, human that's going on.
So
Like the way the guy sounded on the other side,
yeah, he sounded like a normal person who
just like a
was
regular dude.
answering a radio call.
Yeah, and he clearly was involved in whatever's going on because you know he makes the declaration, that that your wife should really stop digging, or I forgot exactly what the guy said, but it was something to that effect, like your wife needs to stop digging.
Right. She shouldn't. Right. And I definitely got the impression that the voice was toying a little bit with Jim.
All right.
Trying to give him a little, uh, I don't know, not really hope, but just kind of toying with the idea of, oh, hey, yeah, you found somebody. Yeah, you
And,
found somebody, and now I'm gonna lay some truth down on you. Not what you think.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, he didn't get what he hoped he got, and yeah,
right, right. Okay, so I'm gonna
that
go on
was
a
cool.
total.
That
I,
was
I,
cool.
I'm gonna reassess. Because after this episode aired, I went back and watched it again.
Okay.
And the reason that I went back and watched it again is because I had a new idea form in my head. One of them is the boy in white now appears to Sarah. Um, Now he could have appeared to Sarah at any time in the town, and he didn't. He only appeared to Ethan, and we don't even know. Well, actually, yes, he did. He appeared to Victor too on the night of Colony House massacre. So the boy in white is now pretty selective in terms of like who he shows himself to, but he always seems to have some interesting way out. Some interesting, when he shows up, some interesting thing happens. I'm starting to think that this is more of a nine circles of hell thing
Hmm.
instead of a
Purgatory.
yeah, right, instead of a straight. And I'll be honest, I think that the creatures that are in this story are actually in the same, they're in the same hell. They're just on a different level, literally and figuratively, right? They're on a
Hmm.
different level because they're underground. That's a different level.
Right.
They're on a different level because they are, and I keep going back to this. Um, their job is basically to annihilate whoever is in the town. Now, my the one thing that I go back to again and again, and why I think it's circular in motion and not necessarily this is a linear story, is because if you go back to one of the episodes where Jim's wife uh, finds the little token that she gave to Jim on the night that they met,
Right.
or that he gave to her, I can't remember. And that was in the storeroom, right? That's the storeroom of the people who had been there before. That's their things.
Right.
So my guess is, and I know I don't understand exactly how this is like on a quantum level working, but my guess is that this is a circular pattern. So this isn't the first time that they've been in the town. And I'm also starting to think that Boyd's wife was right. That the way out, and I think I said this before, that the way out is for everybody to basically die. If everybody dies, then everything stops. Then it doesn't get to reset basically, because we saw the reset in the beginning. We saw Victor as a child. He's the only one that survived. New people started coming into the town. The town started filling up, and then the town keeps going on and on and on until the next big thing happens. But the next big thing that happens is they're trying to basically kill everybody in the town so that things can, and I feel like this is not the design. This is just like oh, they're trying to exploit a flaw. And I'm using the word they because I don't know who is doing what, but that's the feel that I get.
Right.
Um and Okay, so let's move away from that for just a second. Let's talk about Boyd and Sarah in the forest. Um, in the last episode, I was talking about how much I loved Lord of the Rings and how there's two people walking. Damn if they don't walk into Shelob's lair with these biting spiders. Um, that was actually, I think, a really interesting touch. Um, Again, there's a lot of like weird things that are I am not sure if they're completely symbolic, but they feel very symbolic. They're in the forest looking for a boat. They hear the boat horn and then they find in the trees a message in a bottle. I mean, that's about as nautical as you get, right? And
Right.
then they're in the forest and the path in front of them is obfuscated. And how is it obfuscated? It's obfuscated with spider webs. It's you can sort of see through spider webs, but you can't see through them enough to be able to make out what's there. That lures you in and gets you further. Like there's a lot of interesting visual symbols in this which feel very well done. Um, but Boyd gets bit by a spider, and now it's Sarah's turn to try to act as Boyd's cheerleader, who, really at some point starts thinking, it feels like he starts thinking he's just ready to give up.
Right.
Um, and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that Boyd sees his wife in this spider hollow. What did you take away from that?
I think that one thing that this place does is it makes you confront your past, right?
Yeah,
And being that how tragic what happened with having to put her down, I think that I really believe that obviously he has not gotten over it. I mean, how do you get over something like that? And I think that that in that moment, the with the I started to call it the island, but the town. I think it that's what is the deepest things that happened to him was losing his wife, and especially in the way that he lost her, having to kill
right.
her. So he's going through this traumatic thing. So then it brings it back up to to maybe it's messing with him. Maybe that's his way of getting him off of his game by showing him something that obviously would hurt him.
Well, the way, well, okay, so I'll come back to that. Soon or not too far after that, they see a lighthouse,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you remember, but at one point, who is on the stairs? Um, is it who's on the stairs? Um, I'm trying to remember who was uh who was the character. Oh, it was Jim's wife.
So
Remember when she was digging and then she tried to go upstairs?
right,
And do you remember how the stairs were circling around
like a lighthouse. Yeah.
like a lighthouse? Exactly. Yes. That made me think that she was having that that somehow this world, and it is sort of strengthened by the faraway trees, that somehow this world is like it's like an interconnected funhouse kind of a where time and space meet in different points, and sometimes it's this way and then sometimes it's not this way. It's like it's almost like there's thin points in the world where different things happen. Now the let's for a second, let's just think about the lighthouse, right?
Okay.
That's clearly where the sound was coming from. So it wasn't a boat horn, it was the lighthouse making that noise. If you've ever been to a lighthouse, you know that they have like these foghorns. And when they play the foghorns, it does sound a lot like a boat horn. It's meant to warn boats away from the shore. So that made sense. But what is it trying to warn them, or what is the, what sort of symbolic piece could that possibly be? I don't know. But it was interesting because It felt to me, and I would love to know what you thought. It didn't feel to me like Sarah and Boyd were going toward the lighthouse. It felt like they were going back home.
What do you mean by home?
Well, they were trying to home, home as in back to the town,
All right,
because
okay.
Boyd had been hidden because Boyd has been bitten by the spider, and so obviously Sarah's trying to sort of save him, but they came all this way. There's the lighthouse. Wouldn't they? Don't you think that that would be like a thing that they would just need to go toward? I don't know. What did you think?
I think there's fear because they've seen things that they obviously hadn't seen yet, or seen before.
Good point.
Uncertainty and and doubt. So I think that that's the kind of where they were at, as far as the decisions that they make. Now we can argue up and down if it was correct, but that's what they did.
So you think that like they were trying to go back to what they understood as safety
Right.
because they were okay. Okay, yeah, I can see that. I think that actually makes a bit of sense. Um, so the other thing, of course, that happens in this episode, which is just I don't know. Again, it just kind of this particular piece sort of weirds me out. Um, the big thing at the end is well, I won't get to the big thing at the end, but the big issue is that they hear this voice over the radio. So they've built this tower. Clearly, something either recognizes that there is some kind of danger to this, or it's trying to herd them all kind of back into the direction that they need to be in because this huge storm starts to blow in
Do you
from
think that
nowhere.
wait, do you think the storm is the town's way of fighting it too? That all of a sudden,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Uh and I don't think it's because they would have been successful with the radio per se, although possibly um because I wonder if that isn't the reason that Jim is teaching Ethan to use the radio. I mean, I can't imagine why else that would even that took up a lot of time. Here, let me show you how to touch each one of these wires to get a different frequency. That was quite an interesting idea.
I
Um,
think it was father son bonding in a way. I don't know.
if at any other time in this series, if they had done that, I would have been, oh, that's so cute. But in the finale, see. Do you see what I was saying about the last episode and why I thought the timing was all off? There's just things that they throw in here that make me go,
Hmm.
is this important? Is this not important? But in the final episode, man, if they don't have their timing down and they're not showing us the really important stuff, they're really failing. Because
I think be honest with you. I think they wanted that was their way of incorporating the son into the final episode because remember the son is set up to be so important or potentially important, and then to be honest with you, how I mean, when's the last time the son has done anything that seems to matter that much? It seems like they
that's what
forgot about him.
well, but I think that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it does seem like they are kind of uh developing Ethan into look, see, you can also be independent and you can know a lot of things too, because I don't want to speculate what may happen, but my guess is we're in for a time jump at some point. If this series continues, there will be a time jump, and that time jump will focus on Ethan. This in a very similar way to how Victor is the strand that kind of holds the whole place together in some weird way narratively. Um, it feels to me like that's maybe what is happening. Let okay, let's recap a little bit this crazy roller coaster of stuff that we have been experiencing over this season. So, first thing is we know everybody comes from a different place, right? They're all
Hmm.
traveling from some other place, and they all seem to have some history, a history of life before they were where they are now, right? But we also know that most of the characters seem to have some weird proclivity to this place as well. Boyd's wife had a dream, and she remembers it from childhood. Uh, Tabitha, Jim's wife, finds that thing in the storage. Um, even well, then of course there's Ethan, who is the storyteller, and he's the twinner almost of Victor. And then we also have
Twinner. I like that.
it's true though, right?
Right.
Uh, and then we have Sarah, who has some kind of medium connection to everything. It just feels like all the characters have some sense of uh, not overt deja vu, but oh hey, I know this place. I feel this place. I think I've been here before, or I recognize these patterns as something familiar to me. That feels very intentional. Okay, so there's that, and then there is the everybody is disposable, and then there is the uh, shift toward how can we get out of here, and then we sort of end on the note of you know what, there really is no hope. This is something so much bigger than who these people are, is manipulating both the external world, meaning the weather and the even the forest around them, and the internal world, that is what they think and feel and how they are reacting to each other. So the one striking thing to me, and tell me how you feel about this, is that by the end of this episode, I did not feel like I had any confirmation of anything other than, oh, hey, here's some new questions to throw out at you.
Yes, that's the problem.
Yes.
There's nothing. And honestly, when it gets interesting at the very end, is when it just goes. It just stops. And
Yep.
it was so goddamn frustrating. Um, I mean, I know the whole thing would keep you wanting more, but you got to give me something though.
Yeah. Something. Right. Something. And again, this is why I go back to, I feel like this is like this, and I want to be hopeful, but I feel like this is sort of the quintessential um the circles of hell a la Dante also have this feeling of everything continues to keep wrapping around and around, and it's just, I mean, it's many versions of basically the same thing. But again, I go back to what I said before, and that is, listen, we as the audience need to have some glimmer of, we understand something more than the characters understand. Because if we don't, then what keeps us continually interested in what's happening to them? You know what I mean? I mean, there's way too many people in this story for us to care about every single one on the deep, deep level that it would require for us if we were just experiencing constant confusion and chaos. It could work if there was just a few characters, but we have too many characters for that, right? You know what I mean?
Right? No, you're 100% right.
So, I definitely am not of the mind that this was a lost endeavor. Sorry, no pun intended.
Yeah, that's
But
funny.
but but I do feel like, and I'm sorry to channel my fourth grade teacher. Um, it's really not showing its potential, and
Yeah.
it it needs, a little, like, come on, this is a great story, there's so many awesome pieces in here. um give us something. And at this point, I wouldn't even care if it was just like a gigantic red herring that was out there and made us all like, the crazy fish in the bottom of the sea following the light, even though we're about to get devoured. I totally wouldn't even mind that if I felt like there was something compelling to make me want to discover what happens next. As it is now, I just feel like I'm putting together a jigsaw puzzle without a, a really good picture. And so I don't really know what I'm putting together.
Right.
That's frustrating to me. That was really frustrating. I do think, from the what is good about this, I did really like that we get a better sense of the deeper dread. Um, they This isn't a case of they're just someplace where they could escape. I mean, to me, that's very clear, right? They're not gonna
Right.
escape. This is you can't go somewhere. I think they think that they can go somewhere. I don't think they can go anywhere. And I think that the whole title premise of this series, it's called From.
Right.
It's not called,
There.
destination. It's not exactly. Yes, the important part of who these characters are is where they're from, what their lives were before, and my guess is where they're from is where they are right now.
Right.
They don't know it. They don't know it, but yeah, that's what I'm feeling. So I don't know. Throw some throw me some, like, how are you feeling, not just about what happened in this episode, but what are some characters that you feel like did a good job, or what are your overall impressions so far?
I really think I understand why they killed off Father Khatri, but I kind of wish they didn't. I
Mm.
feel like he could have stayed on another year. I feel like in order to, I think they needed him to go to get Boyd with Sarah. I think
Maybe
but
Father Khatri is coming back.
hmm, okay. I mean, as what, flashbacks? You mean?
No, no, I mean, maybe Father Khatri is actually coming back. Maybe Father Khatri is actually going to either A, be one of the creatures. Maybe he's on the bus. How do we know?
Right. You
No,
know.
I actually do wonder though, because I don't think that the creatures that we are seeing, who are the terrifying monsters that shrieked all the time. I don't actually think that they are dressed as cooks and navy captains, and I don't think that that's an accident.
Oh no, not at all.
I
Not at
mean,
all.
clearly they came from somewhere, and where did they come from? I'm guessing, and I mean, I'm just going out on a limb here. The reason that they said that Victor said they live underground is
Mm-hmm.
because what happens when you bury somebody?
You put them underground.
You're underground, yeah. And so that's where they live. They actually live underground because they're actually dead. That's my feeling. That's my feeling. And I mean, I've got lots of other questions, but yeah, it kind of feels that way to me. How else could they possibly live underground and yet every night somehow figure out a way to cut? Like, there's just too many weird situational pieces in there. Let's just talk real quick about how they ended it, though. They
Okay.
ended it with a bus
Oh,
pulling into
okay.
the
Wait,
diner.
wait a minute. Are we gonna skip? Are we gonna skip? Wait, hold on, hold on. Wait, wait. All right.
Oh no, no, we're definitely not skipping that.
Oh, okay.
I was just talking about because I have my own theory about that too. I've got a
Oh,
huge theory.
okay. So you want to save that for? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Also, I have a great pun for that too, so I'll throw that on you too.
Okay.
Um, so what did you think though about the bus that arrives at the end?
Okay. So the bus could be okay. This is just another group of people that are stranded, right?
Yep.
But or it could be maybe people who are involved with the town, um, like the people that were on the other the walkie-talkie or whatever.
Right,
It
right.
could be
So
they're sending them in to somehow get the town under control or something like that. Maybe when they didn't, maybe they never had to before. So like I mean, this could be some sort of psyops test government thing because the guy kind of sounded like one of those kind of government type. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Like he
yeah.
didn't just sound like a dude, or I could just be reading into that. So I mean, I
Well,
think
he knew
I
he
think we're
knew
meant
Jim's
to.
whole name, right? He knew
Right.
Jim's whole name. He knew also that Jim's wife was digging in the cellar. That's not
They're under
I mean,
surveillance.
yeah, right, right, right.
Yeah,
Some kind of surveillance.
and so I think the bus maybe is meant for us to think that, oh, these are just some more stranded people, but I wouldn't be surprised if these are some sort of people that are meant to get them in line or something to that effect. And then look, they haven't really traveled too far on the outskirts. There could
That's
be a
right.
whole other population of people in a similar situation as them.
That's right.
So it could be another town that they don't even know about. So who maybe, I mean, we don't know, but clearly the guy on the walkie-talkie was not a monster or anything supernatural. He just seemed he's. I wonder if he was some sort of government person. You
Oh,
know,
that's an
uh,
interesting theory.
so that was interesting when you heard the guy
Yeah.
and he sounded, first he sounded friendly and then he said made it, and he said it. He's the way he said it was like real kind of like 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 being an asshole. You know what I mean? Like he said it
Yeah,
like
he was toying with Jim
toying with him,
first.
right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but the bus though, when they showed the bus and it went off the air, I was like, oh, finally you're giving me something, and then you're gonna cut off there, you know, because
So
I had lost track of how much time was left in the episode.
it's interesting because on the screen right now, as an image, if you can't see it, is the bus outside of the diner,
Hmm.
and the only illumination that's happening is the headlights from the bus and the jukebox,
That
which
comes
we
on and off,
know,
right?
yes, and it seems like the jukebox comes on and does things when it's relevant to characters, right? And I could kick myself for not listening if there was something that was playing. I don't remember.
Well, here I can. I mean, you won't be able to hear it, but I can listen. Yep,
What is it that's playing?
it's the song that it closes off with.
Is it Que Sera?
No, everybody knows. Uh,
It's not Que Sera.
no, it's not. Here, let me. So they won't ding me on it. I'll see if they put with the final song.
Usually I catch it with subtitles, and for some reason I didn't catch it this time.
I don't want them to ding me. Let's see. It
Can't
doesn't
give you
say.
too much information, everybody.
You know what I can do? I don't recognize that song. It sounds like maybe a song from like the '60s or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
that a lot of these do seem to be from either the 60s or even earlier.
let's see. From episode 10, final song. Let's see. Uh, Colton Moore and the Clevers. Uh, wait, no, that's something from another show. I hate when they do that. From tell me about something about Yellowstone. Hold on a second.
Oh no.
Like, I was like, uh, jeez Louise, man. Uh, Okay, I'm gonna have to do some research to find out. Or
So okay,
yeah. Oh, you know
so
what I could do? Um, just keep talking. I can do a sound hound, but
okay,
I'm
so
gonna have to uh, just, I won't you won't be able to hear me for a second.
okay,
But just keep
so
talking.
okay, so I'm going to not postulate exactly, but create kind of a theory here that that I don't know if you've ever seen the movie
All right,
that
you won't be able
was
to hear me for a second.
okay, that was Cabin in the Woods. But Cabin in the Woods had a really interesting idea where it was basically like a government kind of setup where they were negotiating the gods. They were negotiating keeping the gods happy. And as I was watching this episode, I really got the feeling that like that is an odd idea, but it fits so perfectly with this. And if it is a cabin in the woods kind of setup, then it makes such perfect sense that what is really happening is there is some kind of outside I'll loosely call it agency that is sort of orchestrating what's happening, but I don't think that that necessarily takes away from the my original idea, which is everybody has to die in order for this narrative to kind of quit. I think they bank on the fact that, you know, trying to keep everybody alive or people trying to keep themselves alive is what keeps perpetually this moving forward. This is how it keeps moving forward. And then whenever people get too close to a truth or something, then remember how I was saying before about how every time the characters create an important piece, another character comes along and like goes, "Oh, look, piece of candy. Oh, piece of candy. Oh, piece of candy." And then you never go back to that. Yeah, that's how this whole thing feels now.
Okay, you'll love what the song is.
All right, what is it?
Give me 1 second, and I'm gonna find the lyrics here. Uh, okay, the song is Neil Young. Everybody knows this is nowhere.
Oh, right.
Right.
That's actually the shout out to the almost yeah, okay, yes, yes. So the name of this episode is called "Oh, the Places You Won't Go," right?
Which is a great title.
Yeah, I really love that.
Yeah, and
This so the okay, so I mean, obviously somebody could have, you know, a weird sense of humor. But the idea that they're playing this song as the bus rolls up does feel a little bit like, yeah, okay, well, nobody's getting rescued. I mean, we can pretty much, I think, rule that out. But also, uh, yeah, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Do you think I'm on the wrong track with like everything being so cyclical?
oh yeah, definitely. And this song is definitely not by accident. It says, I think I'd like to go back home and take it easy. There's a woman I'd like to get to know living there.
Right.
Everybody seems to wonder what it's like down here. I got to get away from this day to day running around. Everybody knows this is nowhere. That's yeah, right. That fits right perfectly.
Yep, that's absolutely and also the interesting thing here is that's for us, right? I don't know that jukebox thing, that's for us this time. There are no characters there to hear that.
Right.
So that's not a message from, you know, the agency or anything or whatever is happening. That's not for them. That is playing because it's in the world.
Or
Right? There's
or maybe it's Neil Young that's doing all of this.
Oh, that could be. Maybe this is his final stand against Spotify.
Right, which is so funny because he just had that, that whole thing with Spotify.
I'm you know what? If that's the circle of hell that you go in as a songwriter, I'm never writing another lyric ever
Well, you
because
know what? You know what
I'm
the
a waste
circle
of
of hell is when you go to Margaritaville and you have to listen to Jimmy Buffett over and over and over.
I would totally listen to Jim Buffett over and over.
Yeah, but Jimmy Buffett and meals don't go together.
I think the problem, much like the entire series is showing us, is anything over and over and over again will basically drive you crazy, one
Right.
way or other. It'll either kill you or it'll drive you crazy. And I keep going back to Boyd's wife, and I keep thinking, oh, maybe Boyd's wife was right. Remember how early on I was like, oh, Victor was the only one that survived, but maybe he wasn't supposed to survive.
Right. You're right.
Maybe everybody was supposed to die. It's just, it's like, it's so recurring over and over again. But then, you get these like really weird things that happen in the series too, where you've got like all these tensions that don't exactly make sense. Like, why is Jim so angry? Why?
He's
I
an
I
angry dude.
mean, I get that,
His
he's
wife.
upset about. Yeah, I mean, I sort of, but then there comes a threshold at which I just am like, yeah, what else is going on here? Um, I don't know. There's some. I again, I don't feel like this was a waste of my time. I loved this whole season, really did. Great, 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 fun time. Uh, but I am so ambivalent about plans for season two. If it happens, I'll be excited and I'll be a cheerleader and I will come back here and lay some whatever conspiracy theories of story that I possibly can on it. But if they don't, I will say, wow, that was a really good run and thank you for bringing that to us. Now I can just go off and write fan fiction about it. You know what I mean?
Right. You're not gonna write.
How do you know?
Well, by the way you sounded, you didn't, you know,
Uh,
you didn't
um,
sound
I,
like.
I'm gonna write some fan fiction that is basically just gonna be a couple of words, real similar to Jack Torrance, and it'll just be the same thing over and over and over again because that's what they're experiencing. Just that's it.
No, from season two makes Jen a doll girl.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
I mean, that could be great fan fiction right there.
There you go.
Um, so okay, let's. We would be remiss if we didn't also talk about the boy in white appears to Sarah
Uh-huh.
and tells Sarah, you got to get into the faraway tree. Now, two things happen here. One, Sarah gives Boyd the talisman. Now, that seems pretty telling because there's only one talisman.
Right.
And we saw Sarah give it to Boyd, right? That's one.
Right.
Two, he is stuck in a well. And my joke about that, I even said it at the time that the episode aired, was, oh, so the writers just said, oh well, Boyd. Yeah, no, nobody in my family thought it was funny either. But so Boyd is stuck in a well, and I mean, like he's really he's stuck. There's nothing. Where's he gonna go?
Yeah, that is frightening. By the way, that would be.
Yeah,
Oh my god, that'd be frightening to be stuck in like that. That's like a nightmare.
and we have no idea because we didn't see a pan up, so we can't really see if there's anything above him or what's above him. And Sarah didn't join him, so Sarah ended up in a different spot by going into the faraway tree. We don't know where Sarah ended up. Um, that
I'd be so scared.
but I feel like because Boyd has the talisman, it might mean that something's planned for Boyd to, like, that is going to be important, for him to actually have the talisman. Otherwise, he wouldn't survive. So that kind of makes
Well,
sense.
I mean, just being in that would be scary enough for me. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about the monsters getting them. I'm just like, just to be stuck like that and you can't get,
Yeah.
frightening.
At some point, what's scarier? Starving to death inside of a tiny little well where you really, I mean, it felt claustrophobic. Um, and or getting eaten by the monsters, and I don't know.
At a certain point, you pray for the monsters to come and finish you off.
Oof, there's no good option for Boyd at this point. So,
Yeah.
I, okay. So, what do you think is the wackiest thing that happened in this season, including the finale? But what do you think is like the wackiest thing? So the thing that makes you go, what? Why did they do that?
The character. Why did the character do that, or why did the writers write it?
Well, either, I guess.
Well, that asshole opening that window to make out with the monster. That
Oh, yeah.
that was that guy. Boy, he couldn't die enough.
We hope he
Man,
comes back to die some more.
right. Like
Yeah,
what
that's
was
good.
that? I don't know if you ever seen The Equalizer too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when Denzel says, "I'm gonna kill all of you guys," and the only shame is I can only do it once. So yeah,
My
but
I think my wackiest moment out of the entire series is I gotta say that it's Father Kotri going doing what I think Father Kotri does best, which is being conflicted. But that conversation between Father Kotri and Sarah in the basement was like one part Silence of the Lambs, one part, creepy stalker, one part Book of Revelations, one part. That was the craziest. That whole episode, but specifically the Father Kotri Sarah stuff, really, I had dreams about that. I had
oh wow,
absolute dreams about that. Yeah, that it was so crazy to me. Overall, they and I mentioned this in the last podcast. Overall, I feel like they are on to something good. Like this could be really good. But man, does it ever need some finesse? It needs someone to love each individual script enough to go through and check not just continuity, which I'm sure is making sense in some ways, but check to really get the right feel in editing, what's being presented to us and how.
right,
Because again, all the pieces are there to make this awesome, but I don't feel like the audience is being given the due diligence that it needs to be given in order to maintain a healthy desire to keep going, you know?
right,
At at some point you're just like, "Oh, yeah, okay, this sounds great." I liken it to this. It's a little bit like playing Beethoven on a
right,
Casio keyboard, right? It has all the elements of being great, but I mean, it's a Casio keyboard
right,
and you can only get so many tones out of it, but you can really dress it up simply by washing it through some filters, giving it some interesting, maybe even synthesized sounds. There's lots of different options that they could do on this series to make it feel like we are more invested, and I sincerely hope that that's what they do for season 2.
Well, to keep with your Casio keyboard analogy, um, one of my favorite songs, "Common People" by Pulp, was written on a Casio keyboard.
Oh, see,
So,
the potential for greatness is there, totally there.
yeah,
Not to not because we don't know and we haven't heard anything about whether there will or will not be a season 2. Although I would caution everyone not to read too much into do we know. The show Chapelwaith, which was, I guess, sort of, they were trying to figure out if they could get another producer lined up or whatever. They didn't announce that that would have a season 2 for many months after the final episode aired, and I feel like Epix is sort of in the model of, they things are slow. Things are a little bit slower at Epix than they would be, like, let's say at HBO Max or whatever, where they've
right.
got things a little bit more polished. But tell me, what do you think would be your number one wish to see in season 2?
Um, I don't know if there's necessarily wish. I just want to see the story evolve a little faster, and I don't mind the slow pace. I don't mind it, but I got to feel like we're going somewhere, and I just didn't feel that way with this. So I I just wanted to. I don't know if there's something specific I want. but I just definitely want the show to have a better pacing about
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely could see that. I would like to see three things. One, I would like to see better timing in our episodes.
it.
Get things going a little bit uh, better in terms of how the characters are interacting with each other, so that we're getting an interesting play off of the story, not just a linear narrative, which sometimes feels a little bit strange. I mean, I'm not saying we didn't have flashbacks, because we did, but the flashbacks didn't feel, I don't know, the flashbacks were okay, but they were also a little bit odd. Um, you know, there are some things about form over function here which feel like they're being ignored. So that would be one thing. Second thing I would say is, man, this whole series just screams for the need of better, well, not better, of songs written into the background. Just, I mean, it just would fit so well. That's number two. Also, I wanted to remind everyone that the entire season of From, the amount of background music is actually very minimal. There really isn't a lot, and it lends to the world feeling very desolate and devoid of uh, just the normal everyday activities. There isn't even a lot of like actual background noise. Like, clearly there was a decision made not to do a lot of work in creating footstep sounds, and I mean, it's like really, it's very muted. It's very muted, which is like kind of a cool choice.
Mm.
So different music would be, I think, another big thing. And then the third thing, and the most important thing, is give us big chunks of something to sink our teeth into, so that we feel like the characters in this story are in jeopardy in a way that they don't understand that they're in jeopardy. So, I mean, I'm all for showing us the serial killer around the corner and the lady in the mirror, and she doesn't know that the serial killer is coming, so that I can yell at the screen, "Watch out, watch out." Look, you know what? I love that. I absolutely love it. And in this series, we were just as blind to everything happening as the lady sitting in front of the mirror. And that didn't really sit well with me. So I would love to see a little bit more of the, give us something to be invested in. So
Right.
those are my three things. But overall, I mean, I have to say, I have had a really good time. I've had a really good time over these, and thank you to Epix for giving us 10 episodes instead of the what almost seems like requisite 7 or 8. 10 felt, we got a lot. Maybe too much in some places, but we did get a lot out of this. So I did like that too.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, do you have any last thoughts?
No, just looking forward to whatever comes next, and and I enjoy continue working with you, and looking forward to it.
I have a feeling that there will be some other shows similar to this show, maybe not with the same premise, but with that supernatural, spooky, lots of people are in danger feel coming down the pike. So it'll be interesting to see how we feel about some of those as well. So with that,
Uh,
hmm?
oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we're gonna what's the name of the show that we're gonna? The one I suggested.
Oh
Open
yeah,
Range, right?
Open Range. Was that it?
Yeah,
Was that the name of it? Yeah, I think
yeah,
it was.
yeah, yeah. It looks very, very interesting. With the great Josh Brolin. So, so looking forward to that. But anyway, you can get me at Kinte F on Twitter, Kinte Ferguson on Instagram. It's FERGERSON. And of course, the website is theindyradio.com. That's the INDY radio.com. How can we get you, Jim?
You can find me at moviesandmeals.com. And before I even say goodbye, I just want to mention one last thing because I totally forgot and I wrote a note down about it and it just came up. That last scene where the jukebox is playing in the diner,
Uh-huh.
the bus is from Grand Rapids.
Oh, see, I
We
didn't
don't
even notice that.
we don't know,
I'm sorry, Outer Range. It shows Outer Range. My bad.
we don't know who's there, right? But we do know that that Fatima is also from Grand Rapids, right?
Oh wow.
And it does kind of feel like uh that again, like this could be something cyclical. I don't know, but it does feel like that. So, well, I guess we'll just have to see what happens at the next episode. But I wrote that down as a specific note because that was one of those threads that actually kind of did come together. Like, oh, hey, here's a little bit of something to be thinking about. So, well, I guess we'll just have to see. But in any event, it was wonderful. Thank you so much, Kinte, and thank you everyone for listening.
You have a good one.